My name is Alyssa O'Keefe, and I chose to research income share agreements as a new approach to higher education financing. Income share agreements have become more prevalent in recent years. This idea of agreeing to leverage future earnings, whether salary or profit, in exchange for borrowing money now. This has been seen in professional sports as recently as 2015 with Fantex, a trading platform which sells stock offerings tied to the performance of professional football players. Fantex has contracts with the athletes in which they provide the players an upfront lump sum in exchange for future income. In an entrepreneurial lens, in 2012, companies began providing opportunities for investors to invest cash in individuals looking to start a business or further their education in exchange for their future income or profit. And more recently, income share agreements have permeated the higher education market, as investors and schools can fund a student's education in exchange for their future salaries. Different institutions offer different models. Looking at the history from a higher education lens, the idea of income share agreements were first suggested by economist Milton Friedman in 1955 in his famous work, The Role of Government in Higher Education. Friedman suggested students should be funded through equity investments and that investors could buy a share in individuals' earnings. 15 years later, the first ISA model was seen at Yale University, called the Tuition Postponement Model, in 1971. This program organized participants into a cohort model in which the cohort would pay 4% of future earnings and would make payments until the entire group's debt was paid off. The cohort model brought challenges, though, over time, as some participants defaulted, whereas other wealthy participants were able to buy out early. This left the rest of the cohort with a higher percentage to pay back and fewer participants to divide the payments between. The program ceased 8 years later after many complaints, and participants were relieved from their debt 20 years later. In 2009, private lenders emerged to the scene, offering investors more personal relationships with individuals in their funding. Then in 2016, Purdue University launched their ISA program, which utilizes endowment dollars to fund students' education and later returns their repayments to the institution's operating dollars. Most recently, in 2017, Make School began a partnership with Goal Structured Solutions, offering financing for computer science studies. Over the last few years, a handful of schools have begun trying out income share agreements. Some schools are pursuing ISAs as a method of revenue, as high earners have the potential to pay back more than they borrowed if a student ends up in a high-paying career. Others are supporting students with no other financial aid options, looking to provide another opportunity. Currently, Purdue University, Lackawanna College, Clarkson University, Messiah College, and the University of Utah all offer ISAs for general education studies at no interest. Other schools have emerged to the scene to support specialized programs or student populations. Make School offers financing for students in their computer science programs, Norwich University for military students, Colorado Mountain College for DACA and other non-citizen students, and the University of San Diego offers certificate programs in digital development and business analysts. Each institution offers different terms for their ISAs. There's a set amount that students can receive each year. You'll see here that's $10,000 at Purdue and $5,000 at Messiah College. The percent of income that they will need to repay at Purdue varies by academic program, whereas at Messiah is 3% per income share agreement that they enter in. Remember, they can enter in a new agreement each year. The repayments are capped by both number of years and amount earned to protect students if they begin to make a very high salary. Students also do not begin making payments unless they make more than the minimum salary outlined here as $20,000 at Purdue and $25,000 at Messiah. Purdue's program is funded by endowments, whereas Messiah College pulled from their financial aid budget. Programs also have different eligibility terms for students, such as academic programs that ISAs can be used to fund, and year that a student is in school. There are some clear advantages and opportunities to income share agreements, and they are marketed as favorable alternatives to student loans, as we are all aware of the major student loan debt crisis. Many students are comforted by the idea that they will not have to repay funds until they are in a certain salary range and making a living. Each program has their own terms as previously discussed, but also has the repayment cap, often at the end of a 10-year cycle or so. These can be great financial options for students who otherwise feel they can't afford college or have used all of their other financial aid options. However, critics advise that students need to evaluate ISAs closely. Some critics question the legality of them as you're leveraging human equity, and they challenge the idea against 13th Amendment rights. Currently, ISAs are not government regulated, so there are not opportunities like defaults or forbearance as with traditional student loans. Further, although ISAs are marketed as alternatives to loans, financial analysts compare them as a form of debt, and although there is not traditional interest, many times students are locked into paying back more than they initially borrowed, the same as interest. As with many financial solutions, whether or not ISAs are a good fit for a student depends on the programs, terms, and students themselves. This is important information for us as administrators to familiarize ourselves with all financing options for college as we face the future of higher education. College is becoming more expensive, and less students and their families are able to afford to attend school without support. We must remain educated as administrators to speak to students and families on options as the field continues to evolve.